My guest today is the man when it comes to proxy design and corporate communications. Iain Poole is one of the first to enter the proxy design profession over a decade and a half ago. He saw something that few of us did. He's a managing director for Argyle, a shop that specializes in proxy design, with many former in-house lawyers on his team. I've known Iain a long time. We worked together 20 years ago at R.R. Donnelley, and he really knows his stuff, as you'll soon see. Not only that, he's a great friend, a thoughtful person, and has a broad worldview due to his international background and experience. I'm Brock Romanek today on Zippy Point. So Iain, why are companies talking about company purpose in their proxy statement?
Because everybody is talking about company purpose and documents aren't published in a vacuum. I think anybody that's read articles in the media over the last 12 to 24 months will have read articles discussing the role that corporations play in society. The reason being that corporations have a tremendous potential to instigate good and to solve some of the biggest challenges that society is facing. Governments are vertical by nature and manage their jurisdictions, whereas corporations are horizontal and work around the world. So a number of companies have been talking about purpose for some time already across their ESG reports and their annual reports. And as the media has been talking about this, so have investors developed a broad interest in this as a theme. So Larry Fink talked about corporate purpose as the cornerstone of his letter to CEOs a couple of years ago. More recently, the Business Roundtable of 181 CEOs embraced this as a theme and redefined the purpose of a corporation going forward. And we're seeing a number of companies led by those CEOs that signed the statement, and others draw on ideas that traditionally had been discussed in the ESG reports and publish purpose information in the proxy statement. It is. So the team over at Allstate is composed of Dan, Deborah, and Leanne that look after the proxy statement. And they listen to their investors every year quite carefully to understand what they're looking for with regard to the proxy statement. And each year we've seen Allstate, like a number of other companies, add disclosures to their document that are aligned with what investors are looking for. And many of these go beyond the traditional expectations from proxy statements. It's beyond required disclosures. So this year, the team began with a cover of their document that clearly sets out the company's intent to create long-term value by serving stakeholders and taking appropriate risks. And this goes within a suite of disclosures. So Allstate also publishes a sustainability report, and they publish an annual report, which they actually call a prosperity report, which describes the ways in which Allstate is doing good for society above and beyond generating financial returns. So from the very front cover of the document, you can see that the company is doing something unusual.
Yeah, a prosperity report, that's definitely not a common term so far.
I think Allstate is the only company that is using it so far, but it's a relevant theme when it comes to talking about, again, returns for a broader range of stakeholders that goes beyond the investors.
Here's pages 6 and 7.
Yeah, so diving into the document. So you're right, Brock, to call out pages 6 and 7 because this is presented as a spread. And I think that that's a first important cue. When it comes to joined up thinking and presenting ideas that flow together, we're seeing a number of companies use 2 pages in their proxy statement together. So when it's laid out in a printed book, you see that you're drawn from the left to the right. And when it comes to presentation on Edgar, which is in 1 page, each page can stand alone as a unique page. So again, what Allstate is doing is taking the themes that are discussed in the prosperity report, and we would more usually see in an annual report, and distilling them down for the reader of the proxy statement so that they're getting a full view of the good that the company is doing along the lines of financial returns and work for a broader range of stakeholders. So everything about this page is something that you may not have seen in proxy statements a number of years ago. So we've got an introduction to the company and what the company does that surprisingly is something that we still don't see in a lot of proxy statements. You have the company's goal, values, priorities, and leadership principles that underpin everything else and set the tone from the top. The operating principles and priorities, so the way in which the company is run and a sort of a distilled business model of sorts. And then you have the conclusion, so the outputs of this value creation chain in terms of financial returns at the very beginning, net income, revenue, policies in force, etc., whatever is relevant for that business. But then right next to it, juxtaposed, you can see 2019 highlights for this broader range of stakeholders. So operating priorities, which would in this example be achievements for customers, which is absolutely key. Human capital management is a theme that we've seen grow in proxy statements over the last couple of years. We expect to see even more next year with regard to protecting the employee population from COVID. In this case, Allstate talks about diversity through its workforce and some other themes. Innovation at the heart of everything that Allstate does, and then corporate responsibility with a line of sight through to the prosperity report to really link those disclosures together and enable readers to learn more.
Yeah, it really reminds me of a resume for a human being, and that it's, you know, it should be on one page, and then that one page is your whole life and what you're all about, and this is really remarkable.
Yeah. All right, so thanks, Brock. So the Coca-Cola company has innovated with its proxy statement for a long time. I think that they were one of the first companies to publish a really evolved proxy statement back in 2012. And today, Jennifer, Arshna, and Jane, who are the team that manage this document at Coca-Cola, continue that work. So just a word about Coke's corporate purpose and those companies that talk about it very fluently. This is the back cover of Coca-Cola's document, and you've got these bright, dynamic letters with a declaration of the company's purpose to refresh the world and make a difference. So in working with the team at the Coca-Cola company, as well as Allstate that we highlighted previously, the company's purpose is really in the DNA of its employees. So we're going to talk about Mr. Quincy's letter and how it sets the tone from the top of the company. But in every interaction with Jennifer, Arshna, and Jane, you can feel that the company's purpose is really important to the company and to its employees, and that they're working for a broader good than just financial returns. And so that lends a real authenticity to the messages that are published throughout the document. So we'll skip on to the letter from the CEO. So the CEO of the Coca-Cola company, with 180 other CEOs, signed the Business Roundtable statement on the purpose of a corporation. And so it's logical that that should become a key theme of the letter, in the course of which Mr. Quincy describes how the company's purpose anchors the company's strategy and serves as a guide as they seek to participate in some of the biggest challenges that society is facing. The two being most relevant for the Coca-Cola company are reduction in waste and water consumption. So the letter goes into some detail about those key themes. It's discussed elsewhere in the document, notably at the very beginning in a form of proxy summary, which is just a couple of pages later, where we see what the Coca-Cola company does, the Coca-Cola system, what makes the company unique, so almost the investment proposition to begin. Then the company's strategy is described in some detail, so the business model, what the company does to generate revenue and returns for shareholders, followed by financial highlights in much the same manner as Allstate, so the achievements with regard to revenue, EPS, returns to shareholders, and then how the company is making a difference, beginning with its employees. And they address those key fundamentals for the business in making a difference. So corporate culture and engagement, leadership, talent and development, diversity and inclusion, human rights, business integrity, followed by the company's sustainable business priorities and notable accolades, which are independent recognition from third parties. So again, I think that the Coca-Cola company talks about its corporate purpose with fluency throughout the document and as an organization. And they've done a really terrific job of bringing financial returns together along with returns for a broader group of stakeholders.
Thanks very much, Iain.